Imagine a station that prepares you for a bright and greater future. A station for all ages, documentaries, classroom and television, events coverage, children's programs and variety shows. Always stay tuned to NTA Knowledge on the Star Times platform, channel 359. For partnership, sponsorship and advert placements, contact us on NTA Knowledge. NTA Knowledge.
Welcome to Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. We thank you for joining us. I am Lydia Odije-Ochi with the news. The Federal Executive Council has approved 8.49 billion naira for the procurement of necessary equipment for the testing of coronavirus aimed at controlling and containing community spread of the global pandemic in the country. The Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Hanire, announced this while briefing newsmen after the meeting of the council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari.
Transmission which is going on now, which has affected over 586 local government areas, and we need materials to be able to expand our testing capabilities and diagnostic capabilities. So we are procuring testing materials right from sample materials to other kits for diagnostics in our laboratory systems to be able to respond properly to the community transmission phase. We have already made plans to have at least one sample collection site in every local government, minimum of 774, and these resources will be necessary to go around the 774 local government areas to ensure that persons in rural areas or small towns are not excluded, and to ensure that not only the big cities are the ones being attended to.
The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, on his part, responded to the recently held political rallies in parts of the country, maintaining government's position that, in the new normal, mass gatherings remain prohibited.
To advise social distancing in whatever gathering, it has been proven that wearing a mask saves many lives, saves you, saves the other people, and we continue to help people to please take personal responsibility. We are deepening our conversations with the subnationals, with the governors, with the local government chairmen, with everybody, with all stakeholders. Please take personal responsibilities, and that's what we continue to reinforce, because as of today, there's no known vaccine or medicine to cure, COVID-19. So it's what you need. It's to listen to what science is. If anybody says that wearing mask is inconvenient, let him try a ventilator.
Our next set of reports concern Nigerian youths. Sustainable culture of promoting youth agenda remains the hallmark of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration since assumption of office in 2015, with billions of naira expended to drive an all-inclusive system that puts youth at an advantage position. This were the summary of guest views at NTA's Current Affairs program Tuesday Live to commemorate 2020 International Youth Day celebration. Abubakar Usman Akwanga has more.
Youth population is said to be the bedrock of every society. This explains the paradigm shift from empowerment to investment in youth through several social viable investment windows initiated by the federal government. More than 60% of Nigeria's population is made up of youth, constituting an integral part of the formal and informal sectors, pulling resources together for national development.
The NYIF will consider comprehensive leadership skills development that will help young people become problem solvers, not just learning skills for self-sustainability.
Setting up this fund, it's a 75 billion naira fund over the next 3 years. It's a huge thing. It's like a youth bank where we know that government is prioritizing our needs.
Guests say the 70 billion naira youth investment fund approved by President Muhammadu Buhari for youth engagement at several economic levels should be monitored and assessed for continuity and progress.
For the Nigerian youth, the young people in Nigeria, is that connectivity, that bridge that takes them from where they are to the fulfillment of their destinies.
We have a lot of young people who have talent, who have a lot to display, to make them employers of labor, to get them more busy. But the challenge that we have so far is lack of funding.
The Nigerian youth are very, very ready to take up this responsibility.
On their part, the youth say, apart from the financial support, other platforms should be expanded with priority in leadership responsibility and decision-making process.
Sustaining debate for the inclusion of youth in the mainstream of governance formed major position of guests, while mentorship to steer the ship of succession cycle takes center stage in aspiring for a greater tomorrow. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
The aim of this year's International Youth Day is to shed light on the need to enable the engagement of youths by making local, national and global institutions more inclusive for the purpose of strengthening their capacity and relevance to achieve global action. This is why the Minister of State for Science and Technology, Mohammed Abdullahi, is advocating the acquisition of digital skills that can serve as a hedge against unemployment risks. Justin Bem-Uni has more.
The present global pandemic has revealed more than ever the power of technology to drive, coordinate and enable business continuity and build resilience in the current situation. And this comes handy as this year's International Youth Day is being celebrated with a focus on youth engagement for global action.
The COVID-19 pandemic has changed.
For the Minister of State, Science and Technology, the COVID-19 pandemic has changed how the world functions, illustrating the limitations of many existing systems and highlighting the need to view the role of technology as a leveler for economic productivity and growth.
The development of digital skills is an important part in building resilience to economic and social shocks like those presented by the COVID-19 outbreak.
Consequently, an NGO, the Africa Scholars Care Initiative, has keyed in to ensure 100 young girls are intensively trained and empowered in ICT.
We're taking the opportunity of the International Youth Day to be able to preach out the word that we need more women in inclusion.
The federal government had recently approved the Youth Investment Fund of about 75 billion naira in the next 3 years to enable youths access funds to support their startup business on very friendly conditions and less cumbersome protocols. Justin Bem-Uni, NTA News.
We still have more on the youth. Contributions by youths to nation building globally, no doubt, have been affected by the coronavirus. To help the youths overcome this challenge, ActionAid Nigeria and partners are urging government at all levels and stakeholders to re-engineer the production and extractive industries towards post-COVID-19 re-engagement. This was at a symposium in Abuja to mark the 2020 International Youth Day. Kenneth Nanim reports.
Sequel to this year's theme, attention is being focused on challenges faced by youths in the COVID-19 era and how meaningfully their creative energy, skills and intellectual prowess could be harnessed for nation building. Inside this hall, voices are getting stronger and louder, calling on Nigerian youths to stand tall in the midst of challenges and take their pride of place in governance, demand accountability on public funds expenditure and infrastructural development, starting from the local communities.
The youths are interested, it's just that they don't have access, and that's where inclusion comes in now. Once you have not been part of any decision making, I don't think there is going to be an interest in the implementation.
Policymakers are also being urged to create opportunities for the youths to explore and be part of COVID-19 economic recovery plans.
Before oil, we had the agriculture, was the mainstay of Nigeria. They need to pay it attention. The youth who are ready to go in that way, their skills should be developed, machineries be given to them, equipment and also, funds be given to them.
Aviation Aid Nigeria is also using the day to raise more awareness on the need for the youth to get more involved, get interested in governance, follow up government policies and implementation of programs, especially the budget process of Nigeria. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
The process of redirecting the focus of youth away from crime to productive endeavors requires more advocacy. A youth-centered group, Make Nigeria Great initiative, is working with the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development to promote positive change among Nigerian youths. Olabode Arewa reports that the program is part of activities to mark the 2020 International Day with the theme Youth Engagement for Global Action.
Kolawole Johnson and Blessing Chisholm are undergraduates who are seeing young people around them engage in common vices like advanced fee fraud, kidnapping, and drugs. An experience they described as not palatable.
No youth should take unemployment as an excuse to go into crime.
Yes.
We can do so many things for ourselves.
We the youth are ready to work. We are ready to do any noble job that will be given to us. We have the strength, we have the capacity.
The group is using this year's International Youth Day to re-echo the need for youth to be gainfully engaged. They implore their contemporaries to join hands with government in the task of building a new Nigeria.
Young people here at the Unity Fountain in Abuja are calling on the government at all levels to ensure that they create a more enabling environment to ensure that young people achieve their dreams in Abuja. Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
We have a guest in the studio to talk more on the International Youth Day, and he is the former Speaker, Nigerian Youth Parliament, Ayodele Obe. Welcome to Nationwide.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, now let's start with the challenges faced by youth globally. What are their challenges?
Yeah, thank you. There are several challenges faced by youth globally. The major one is unemployment, and the other one is violence, which is being recorded by every youth or every climes in the world. So the first one, unemployment, which again leads to the other one, which is violence. The unemployment, I think, could be tackled based on our own initiative of evolving our curriculum to match the industrial needs, or let me say the present current needs of the people, and at the same time making a priority the youth and skill acquisition programs and standardizing it, not the ones we have that people are just trained and not being supported. Then at the same time, youth or young people should be globally engaged so as to divert their attention from violence to productive engagement, because according to the law of a law in science, that energy could not be destroyed but could be converted from one form to the other, and we know that the youth have excess energy, which could either be productively used or be destructively used.
Destructive in the area of the use of drugs. I wish you could talk about that. A lot of youths have been engaged in drug abuse. How can we avoid this or change this trend?
Yes, thank you. As in, I would say that there should be more of advocacy in that area, as in to warn youth, and that's why you've seen that violence have risen in astronomical heights, as in to this level we are today. And at the same time, the government who has a role to play, because those people importing drugs import it from our borders and our ports. So if it is not available, then they will not take it. Most of these drugs are not manufactured locally. So I believe that the government should put in more effort through the agencies that handles it to ensure that these are not available in the market.
Okay, now let's talk about post-COVID-19. What areas should stakeholders dwell on while engaging or preparing the youth for post-COVID-19?
Yes, as in the pandemic is here with us, and we have seen the devastating effect it has taken on our social and an economic life, which has a direct impact of the youth of the young people of the world. So I think the government should focus more on developing or providing not just palliatives. Yes, palliatives is good, but providing succor in means of grants and soft loans to the young people so that they will not get discouraged, they will not get disengaged and get into vices and crimes. Because when you see what is happening around the world, people that are meaningfully engaged are not always attracted to crime. So now that we see that, okay, it has affected us, then definitely we should be able to mitigate the effect by investing directly. And that's why I want to commend the initiative of the president of the Youth Investment Fund that has just been committed. But I just hope that it is not business as usual. It should be handled. Yes, we have the focal group. It should be handled. Yes, it's handled by the group. And it should be for the youths and not majorly the civil servants and the political jobbers that might want to take advantage of.
Okay, now, in some cases, the youth show low interest. In fact, in the past, they had hardly shown any interest in governance. What is responsible for that? And how can they be motivated to fully participate in governance?
Yes, and the low level of participation before was due to illiteracy, political illiteracy, yes, and at the same time poverty. As in, we all know that anywhere in the world, politics is very expensive, and very, very, very expensive in Nigeria. So it is not easy to get into politics in Nigeria and make a headway. So what they just do is it's not as if they've not been in governance. Elections are part of is a process in governance. So they get engaged at that level, but they don't get engaged in the administration, which is very, very important. But due to the involvement of government, the former administration, I won't call it the former administration, the first term of the president, by assenting to the bill, they're not too young to the bill, we have seen an influx of youth coming back into politics, showing interest in governance. So what we need to do more is that political parties should just reduce the cost for the young people so that they can bring in their expertise.
Yes, I believe they are listening, and I know a lot. Things are going to change. Things are going to change. Thank you for coming on Nationwide.
You're welcome.
Wishing you a happy celebration.
Thank you very much.
We've been talking to a youth, former speaker, Nigerian Youth Parliament, Ayodele Obe. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Moving on, flood management sensitization. Let's join Hingino in Lagos for this and more on Nationwide. It's over to you, Hingino.
Thank you, Lydia. The incessant loss of lives and property due to flooding experienced will soon be history as the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and relevant stakeholders are pulling resources together to tackle the menace. This was announced during a door-to-door sensitization program on the prevention, management, and mitigation of flood in high-risk flood-prone areas of the state, held at Idiaraba community in Mushin local government. Lynn Leneke reports.
The state has in the last few months experienced flood disasters that have resulted in many deaths and destruction of property. This is not unrelated to earlier warnings from the seasonal rainfall prediction by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, that some parts of the country will experience high volume of rainfall. This informed the impact assessment by the National Emergency Management Agency that identified some communities in Lagos State as probable flood areas. These include Ikorodu, Ibejuleki, Lagos Mainland, and Mushin. Haris Yusuf and Ayodeji Adebayo reside in Idi-Araba, one of the areas identified as flood-prone.
Like this market now, you get some people, you go see them by night, they will carry dirty, they will car, they come here.
As you see all these new noise like this, when they start now, water used to enter them. Yes, water used to enter them well.
This canal you are seeing links up to Apapa down to the beach, where it's supposed to be its final destination. But along the road, there are some parts that are blocked, so the channels do not reach, and then you have it ending up here.
This exercise by NEMA is to create awareness on effective preventive measures.
We are going to liaise with LOMA, Lagos State Waste Management Agency. LASEMA is fully involved on how to evacuate and clean up these refuse.
The agency warned residents to desist from dumping of refuse in drainage channels, as such attitudes contribute in the challenge of flooding. In Lagos, Lane Lenake, NTA News.
Now talking about adherence to COVID-19 preventive protocols. While some Nigerians are focused on not getting infected with COVID-19, others have become comfortable and indifferent about the virus, thereby neglecting preventive guidelines. This worrisome behavior, experts warn, could aggravate community transmission. Our correspondent examines the falling level of compliance to preventive measures. As coronavirus figures increase daily, personal responsibility is key. That is what the Oyalowos are doing. Their lives revolve within the confines of their home since the lockdown began, except for the head of the home, who is an essential worker. His wife admits to venturous outings once in a while to purchase essential items needed to run the home. For the kids, spaces in and around the house are alternatives to a playground, and incidentally, their mother, who is a teacher, homeschools them on a daily basis.
Into your food, it can lead to food poisoning. So
coronavirus has indeed changed life as they know it.
We do watch some of the enlightenment programs that educate about the state of the diseases and the level of its impact.
Unlike the Oyalowos, some people are not bothered about the presence of the virus as they don't protect themselves. No face mask, no social and physical distancing. This action is rife and may not be unconnected with myths like coronavirus does not exist in Nigeria.
People, even when they get this face mask, they're not using it. They hang it.
People complied initially.
People they are not fear of COVID-19.
As campaigns on COVID-19 continue, it is expected that more people will be responsible, just like the Oyalowos. We now take a break. The news continues after that with Chinenge in Enugu.
ICPC and NTA say you can help Nigeria to flatten the curve on COVID-19, just as you can help flatten the curve on corruption. Follow transparency, accountability, and integrity just as you follow health guidelines. Stay home with integrity and maintain your distance from corruption, just as you stay away from COVID-19 by maintaining social distance. Report every act of corruption to ICPC, just as you report COVID-19 to NCDC. Stay away from corruption, stay safe from COVID-19. Report any act of corruption to ICPC on toll-free number 0800-2255-4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online, or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
Thank you for staying on and welcome to Enugu. Ahead of the August 17th date for the West African examinations, most public and private secondary schools in Enugu State are rounding off revision classes for students in the exit classes while adhering to the COVID-19 safety protocols. Our correspondent visited some schools in the metropolis to know the level of compliance with the set NCDC guidelines as well as the preparedness for the examinations. This is a revision class on mathematics held in one of the secondary schools in Enugu for students in the exiting class. A visit to various schools showed that the level of compliance with the COVID-19 safety protocols, including physical distancing, wearing of face mask, and washing of hands, was quite impressive.
I know that wearing the face mask is kind of inconveniencing, but at least it's a safety measure to make sure that all of us are healthy and alive to write this examination.
The class that is containing people, for there are now 12 in the class with 2-meter specification.
While most schools made arrangements for hand washing and checking of temperature, the Enugu State government is also complementing the efforts.
Governor provided face masks for every student, every child in Enugu State, and the same with hand sanitizers.
While there are concerns in some quarters on the level of success that will be recorded by these students in the forthcoming examinations, some key players in the education sector expressed optimism that it would record a huge success.
The Enugu State government ensured that we continue our teaching and learning though through radio. The serious students supposed to have been also on.
The federal government, through the Ministry of Education, had on the 27th of July this year announced that exiting classes of secondary schools will resume on the 4th of August to enable students to prepare for their examinations. Lack of funding and infrastructure decay of some of the nation's science and technology centers have been identified as some of the major factors militating against the nation's development. Udo Okoronkwochukwu reports that the Senate Committee on Science and Technology made the observation during a visit to the Technology Incubation Center, Nnewi, Anambra State.
In 1998, the Technology Incubation Center, NEWI, became operational in February 1999 with the mandate to nurture the startup and development of small and medium enterprises within Anambra and its environs. However, the situation on ground shows that the center needs to be upgraded to drive its aim of technology skill transfer to meet international standard.
35 units is not enough, but if we have a utility vehicle and other support, we can monitor them.
The Senate Committee on Science and Technology, after a tour of the facility and familiarization with its products and entrepreneurs, observed that the institution is meeting up with its mandate but needs government support and provision of startup capital for graduates of the program.
What we need now is that after incubating the young startups, government has to provide for startup packs, financial support through grants, through soft loans.
Stakeholders of the National Board for Technology Incubation say the visit of the Senate Committee members is a step towards the actualization of Technology Incubation Program in the Southeast.
And the whole idea is to see the workings of the center, identify the solutions, as well as provide solutions.
When it rains, we are having problem with flooding.
Over 2,500 youths have benefited from the center. In Oka, Udo Okoronkwochukwu, NTA News.
And that is it from Enugu. We'll now rejoin Lydia in Abuja for more on Nationwide. Lydia, it's back to you.
Thank you, Chinenye. We now start with COVID-19 stories. Latest information from the NCDC has confirmed 423 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria. The new cases recorded from 18 states indicate that Lagos has the highest number of new infections with 117, followed by FCT with 40. Next is Ondo with 35 cases. Rivers has 28, Osun 24, Benue 21, Abia and Ogun have 19 cases each, while Ebonyi has 18. Others are Delta and Kwara states with 17 cases each, while Kaduna has 15, Anambra 14, Ekiti 11, Kano 9, Imo 6, Gombe 4, while Oyo has 3 cases. Nigeria now has 47,290 confirmed cases, out of which 33,609 have been successfully treated and discharged, while 956 unfortunately died of the virus. Minister of Foreign Affairs Jeffrey Onyama says his latest COVID-19 test result came back negative after 3 weeks in isolation. The minister, who resumed duty today amid cheers from staff of the ministry, said he is eternally grateful for support received from all. He particularly expressed gratitude to his family, President Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, the medical team, relations, friends, colleagues, and religious leaders, as well as numerous well-wishers for their prayers, fasting, messages of support, and encouragement while he was in isolation. The private sector coalition against COVID-19 has donated 100 trucks of food commodities as COVID-19 palliative to Bauchi State. Mahmoud Ibn Mohammed reports that the commodities will be distributed to over 200,000 households across the 20 local government areas of the state in accordance with the coalition's distribution model of food basket to each household.
Driven by common goal, these private sector investors are determined to provide succor to the less privileged and the most vulnerable Nigerians, especially in the era of COVID-19 pandemic.
The fight for survival has become a necessity, and it is not just the responsibility of the government. It is our collective responsibility, and we all must join the fight to stay alive. So far, CAR COVID, in collaboration with the state governments, has commissioned 38 isolation centers across all the 36 states in Nigeria and the Federal Capital Territory.
Let me sound a word of warning that these items must be handled with utmost care and must be delivered to its intended recipients, that is the vulnerables. I have a third eye on the mode of operation of this distribution.
Apart from the palliative, the private sector coalition against COVID-19 has also equipped the Toro Local Government General Hospital's Isolation Center with state-of-the-art facilities. In Bauchi, Mahmoud Ibn Mohammed, NTA News.
Meanwhile, a report by Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa on the National Homegrown School Feeding Program in the midst of COVID-19 has been presented to journalists at a media briefing in Abuja. Elizabeth Omori reports that details of the findings also captured recommendations and prospects for the future.
During COVID-19 lockdown, economies were shut down and schools closed. To this end, the federal government restructured the homegrown school feeding program to cushion the effects of the lockdown. Parker is one of the partners that facilitated the program. Sequel to this, the center presented a feedback that covered 6 area councils of the FCT, namely Abaji, Buari, Kuje, Gwagwalada, Kwali and Amak. Introduction of vouchers, authentication of beneficiaries, and provision of 7 selected raw food items to families of public school pupils in primary 1 to 3 were some of the modifications adopted. The process, however, was not without challenges.
Most of the respondents could not participate in the scheme because distribution of packaged food items did not reach their communities. Others indicated that respondents were simply denied vouchers and certain venues were invaded by thugs.
Recommendations were also made.
There is a need for the federal government to prioritize the establishment of a centralized, comprehensive socio-demographic database to assist the implementation of programs.
The school feeding program already has a database plan. We already have a portal. It's just that we are trying to scale up the data collection process.
The report called for improved sensitization in order to ensure wide participation of the program. In Abuja, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
In another development, thousands of medical supplies worth more than $8 million have been airlifted to some member nations of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, by the Nigerian Air Force. The operation is aimed at fighting COVID-19 in Africa with support from the ECOWAS COVID-19 response champion President Muhammadu Buhari and the West African Health Organization. Defense correspondent Naja'atu Tijani has more.
Carrying tons of much-needed personal protective gear and other medical supplies, NAF 917, the Charlie 130 Hercules, is on a mission to keep the promise made by President Muhammadu Buhari, the ECOWAS COVID-19 Response Coordination Champion.
Our first port of call is the Aéroport International Diori Hamani. That is the Diori Hamani International Airport in Niger. One of the places where the medical supplies are being uploaded. The whole operation is being overseen by the Nigerian Air Force with support from the federal government.
Handing over the supplies follows the same pattern in Mali and Burkina Faso in the final phase of the operation, which has seen the dispatch of the medical supplies to a total of 14 member states, including Nigeria.
This operation is huge. We at WAHO had secured goods before that were a tenth of what we are distributing here. And it cost us so much to get this to all the countries. But it was necessary at the time because we needed to get laboratory materials to countries to be able to test for COVID-19. And so I couldn't be prouder of His Excellency and the people and government of Nigeria, but also the solidarity amongst all ECOWAS countries. I'm proud of the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar and his boys. I couldn't be more proud of them. And women, men and women.
Representatives of the member nations say the gesture has demonstrated Nigeria's good leadership and solidarity with the sub-region. Currently, confirmed COVID-19 cases on the African continent stand at more than 1 million. African leaders, especially those in the ECOWAS, say they will keep fighting to keep the numbers down by focusing on protection and prevention. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
Sokoto is our next port of call with Sadia as our guide. Hello, Sadia. Hello, Sadia.
Flood has emerged in many communities and destroyed over 500 farmlands in Sokoto State. This followed torrential rainfall in 5 local government areas of the state. Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila has the story.
Local government areas affected by the flood include Raba, Gorenyo, Sabon Birni and Gada, among others. Though no life was lost, the disaster rendered many families homeless and destroyed properties and farmlands worth millions of naira. The locals said the flood was due to the rainfall that lasted for hours, blocked drainages and erection of illegal structures.
Where I'm standing used to be my wife's room. I have lost everything. Lack of drainage is responsible for this flood. We are calling on the authorities to come to our aid.
The Sokoto State Emergency Management Agency says the agency will assess the damage and provide the necessary assistance to the victims.
The relief materials are available. Inshallah, we will meet the local governments, those affected by that flooding. Inshallah, we will make a distribution soon.
Sokoto State is among the states predicted by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency to experience flooding in its annual flood prediction for the 2020 rainy season. In Sokoto, Abraham Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
Now, in an effort to mitigate the effect of desert encroachment, the Sokoto State government, through the Ministry of Environment, has embarked on tree planting in 20 pilot gardens across 20 schools in the state. Again, Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila reports that the committees were constituted to ensure survival of the seedlings.
The pilot gardens were classified into 4 zones, with each zone comprising 5 schools and some mosques. The seedlings are of different types of economic trees and non-economic trees that include mango, cashew, and guava. The program is aimed at mitigating the effect of global warming, climate change, and desert encroachment in the state. It will also serve as an alternative source of income for the schools.
The garden would encourage younger ones to know the benefit of planting trees. And the trees, most of the trees that are being planted here are commercial in nature.
Measures have also been put in place to ensure the survival of the trees by fencing and watering them. The Ministry of Environment said trees enhance the environment as green plants produce oxygen for human survival.
It's still Babata, why the trees they are using our carbon monoxide for their survival. The importance of trees, they are used for so many things, for medicinal, protection of winds, erosion, and even reduce the intensity of the temperature.
A custodian of one of the gardens established in a school commended government for the initiative, pledging to ensure survival of the seedlings. The exercise will be extended to some commercial areas and highways, among others. In Sokoto, Abraham Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
Nationwide continues with Agatha in Benin after some messages. Please stay tuned.
She cries. She cries in anguish and in pain. She bears the scourge of her grief. She toils in vain for justice and succumbs to silence. He gloats over his malady. Like a beast, he pounces with no remorse. Her cry means nothing. Her pain feeds her shame. Like an orphan, she's left to grieve in solitude. But no more will she cry in vain. Her adversaries will henceforth bear the brunt of their cruelty. Rape is evil. Rape is a plague, a pandemic of monumental consequences. We must unite and kick it out of our society.
Connect with NTA and stand against rape and rapists. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Thank you for staying on Nationwide. You're now in the Benin Network Center, and here in Benin, the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, is meeting stakeholders in the Edo State governorship election. The focus is to reorient broadcast media on the ethics of political coverage. Obehi Otoba presides attending the meeting. She takes it up from here.
Edo State gubernatorial election is just a few weeks away, and the state is, of course, witnessing heightened activities in its political space. Apart from the political parties and the electorate, the security agencies and, of course, the media are key players in this process. That is why the National Broadcasting Commission is meeting with these key players, and the agenda is upholding fair play, decency and equity before, during and after the election.
We principally want to use the opportunity to warn all broadcast stations that we are monitoring activities and will not fail to impose the full weight of sanctions. We are not going to tolerate excuses that broadcasts are coming live. Whether it is live, delayed or recorded is the editorial responsibility of the broadcaster to ensure that content emanating from the broadcaster's platform is decent, healthy and fit for broadcast.
For the participants, the meeting is timely.
We are highly regulated. We also have our in-house rules, which are like our house style, our house policies, and so far we have been complying with all of these.
I will take this back to my organization and impact on those working in the department.
So as many of these workshops that allow this message to come out, we are happy to partake and send the message to our own followers subsequently.
If the various stations adhere strictly to what they have said today, then we can have a very peaceful election.
The message here today is not just on ethics and professionalism, but a reminder to journalists on this peculiar time of COVID-19 to ensure that they adhere strictly to the guidelines. It's back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Obehi. And still talking political matters, candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, for the Edo governorship election, Pastor Sagie Ize-Iyamu, says he is in the race to improve on the standard of living and social well-being of Edo people. And for the PDP candidate, Governor Godwin Obaseki, his achievements and service in the last 4 years make him different from other candidates. Here are details of their campaigns to more communities.
The APC candidate and his team were in Uzeba and Ekpoma in Edo Central Senatorial District. He told the people that he's coming to make a difference in governance and will be more accommodating and formulate policies and programs to empower the youths.
Sectoral development, 2 hospitals, 2 water, 2 markets. We need to do these things.
The team moved to the palace of the Ojirwa of Irwa, His Royal Highness Zaiki Ukwegwali Momodu, for blessings. Meanwhile, supporters of the PDP from Ward 5 Iriaho, Ward 4 in Ogbona, and Wards 1, 2 and 4 in Fuga, Isako Central Local Government Area, turned out to welcome the candidate, Governor Godwin Obaseki. He told the people that his achievements has earned him the name we can see, and another 4-year term will see more development in all sectors of the state's economy.
I don't do the design. After they announce my results, say I be governor on September 19th, I go bring contractor, make the cost start to work.
It was observed that social distancing guideline was not adhered to and only a few supporters had the face mask on. The campaign continues.
That's it from here. We now go back to Lydia in Abuja for more reports on Nationwide. Good evening.
Many thanks, Agatha. Ahead of the October 10 governorship election and the local government polls coming up this month in Ondo State, the State Directorate of the National Orientation Agency, NOA, has commenced voter education campaign to reorientate the electorate on their roles in the electoral process. Olubukola Aduo reports.
One of the key areas that is considered critical in the electoral process is voter education, which enables the electorate to know the enormous power inherent in their permanent voter cards PVC to elect credible leaders. This is the challenge the Ondo State Directorate of the National Orientation Agency sees as imperative in educating the electorate on the need to shun political thuggery and all forms of violence as the state prepares to go to the poll on October 10 for the governorship election and the local government poll this month. The campaign, which took the team to Owo, was led by the acting state director, Wumi Famuyiwa, who urged the electorate to see their participation in the electoral process as a civic duty.
There's nothing that violence gives. It only brings about chaos. It only brings about anarchy. It only brings about destruction. If you contest this year and you don't win, there's always another opportunity for you to recontest.
Other stakeholders stressed the need to abide by the rules and regulations guiding the process.
If it's not this time, it could be next time. So there is no point fighting us. I'm appealing to everybody from the.
The local government election is slated for the 22nd of this month, while the governorship election is scheduled for October 10 this year. In Akure, Olubukola Aduwo, NTA News.
And from Lafia, the Nigeria Police inaugurated Mobile Police Training College in Nasarawa State as part of strategic vision of capacity building for security of lives and property in the country. Aliu Tijani Mohammed from the venue reports that the new facility is in addition to others in Goza and Ila Oragun.
Behind me is the entrance of the training college, and inside are basic structures for training of mobile police in the area of security. The inauguration is coming barely 7 months after the handing over of documents by the Nasarawa State government to the Nigerian police. Earlier on, I interviewed Governor Sule, and this is what he has to say about the training college.
Today, you have seen the level of development that has already taken place. You have seen the training grounds that are already there. You've seen the number of structures, road structures, power structures, and everything that has already been completed. So, for that reason, we have nothing else to say but to thank the Almighty Allah.
From Police Mobile Training College along Akwanga Lafia Road, Aliu Tijani Mohammed, NTA News.
The Nigerian Communications Commission says it will prosecute online service providers for copyright infractions. The Director General of Nigerian Copyright Commission, NCC, Mr. John Asain, stated this after deliberations with the newly elected executives of Association of Nigerian Authors and the Commission in Abuja. He says the Commission will continue to pay more attention to online activities with a view to curbing the sale of pirated books. In a statement, the Director General of NCC said the absence of proper contractual agreements between authors and publishers has left many authors with unpleasant experiences and called for model contracts to ensure adequate recompense for authors, particularly in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Director General gave special commendation to the Nobel laureate, Professor Wole Soyinka, for recently demonstrating his unalloyed commitment to copyright values and lending his voice to denounce copyright infringements and abuses, adding that the Commission will be pleased to adopt the Nobel laureate as a copyright champion to help fight book piracy in the country. The ANA president further assured the Commission that the new executive would work closely with the NCC to promote copyright knowledge among authors and ensure that literary authors continue to use the copyright system optimally. And we now take sports update.
Former coach of Nigeria's Super Eagles, Advocacy, says discovery